Thanks for staying with us for our final In Focus segment tonight on changes to the U.S. citizenship test. On Friday, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Agency added another one with new changes to the civic test, which adds more than 25% of items to study and requires double the amount of correct answers to pass. Earlier, you heard from a student working to obtain her U.S. citizenship. Joining us now via Zoom is her teacher, Tom Greenleigh, who is a volunteer teacher for a local U.S. citizenship class. Tom, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for caring about this, Rosie. It really makes a difference.
Yeah, Tom, tell us a little bit about yourself. Why did you decide to volunteer as a U.S. citizenship teacher, and how long have you been doing it?
Well, about 4.5 years ago, I noticed that it just kept getting harder and harder and harder for people to immigrate, to get their green cards, and especially to get their citizenship. So I thought that's a place I could make a difference. So I signed up with the International Rescue Committee and started teaching, and I just found that's my passion. I just love doing this. I love working with the people, hearing their stories from the old country, and helping them do better in the U.S.
Yeah, I think I shared this with you, but actually about 10 years ago, I was also a volunteer citizenship and an ESL teacher. And so I share that feeling with you, how great it feels to help someone get to that point and that milestone in their life. In your 4 years of experience, what are some of the biggest challenges, difficulties, or barriers that your students face when working towards obtaining their citizenship?
Of course, fluency with English is a big problem, but also coming to our classes. Remember, before the COVID epidemic, we had to meet in person, and that requires daycare a lot of times, requires sometimes getting off of work. It was very difficult for these people, and many of them have not much education. Maybe if they get through elementary school, they're very, very lucky. These are refugees and immigrants from many underdeveloped countries, and it takes a lot to learn everything they need to learn, even with the old test, not even talking about this new one that's come in.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of barriers there. Now, you saw the new questions that will be added to the citizenship test. What do you think about the new additions, and is it going to be harder for your students to pass the test?
I'm still a little shell-shocked going through it. It is so much more difficult. And as you mentioned, they have to answer double the number of questions correctly. This was put in by the administration on their way out the door, and it looks like we're going to have to live with it for a while. It is going to be very difficult for them.
Now, there is one particular question that shocked you that you and I talked about. I'd like to bring it up real quick just so our viewers at home can get an example of how tough some of these questions is. So the question is, many documents influence the U.S. Constitution. Name one, and it lists 8 choices that could be the correct one. Tell me what your concerns are with this particular question.
Well, in the old test that we've had for 12 years, it just said, what year was the Constitution written? And most people don't know that, but we can learn 1787 and remember that. Now, when they talk about what documents influenced the creation of the Constitution, they're talking about things like the Anti-Federalist Papers, the Virginia Declaration of Rights, and the Mayflower Compact, among others. I'm going to need to study a lot before I know much about those. Does the average U.S. high school graduate know about the Mayflower Compact? I don't know. But these people with either no education or 6th grade education maybe are going to have to learn.
Yeah, that's really tough. And when I was looking at these answers, it made me think of my mother. Between Vietnamese and English, English is a very hard language to learn because it's a multi-syllable word language. So you're looking at terms, right? Like the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, really, really tough terms for them to remember. Tom, we have about a minute left. I'd really like to get to this question. Why do you think USCIS decided to implement these changes? Do you think there's any benefits to it?
I'll leave it to others to guess why. I'll just say it's gotten gradually tougher and gradually tougher and gradually tougher for people from less developed countries to become U.S. citizens. So obviously there was an agenda there. The only good news, I think, is that this forces the hand, or could force the hand, of the Biden administration to take a look at the entire process of how do people become legal immigrants and how do they become citizens, and to say, are we sure our priorities are in the right place?
All right, real quick, where can people go to find out more information about becoming a citizenship teacher or student before we wrap?
Just text the word class to 801-613-2254. We would love to have you. We're doubling down. We're teaching twice as hard. They're learning twice as hard. And we're going to give them twice as many new citizens. They better get ready for us.
One of the most rewarding experiences you'll ever have. All right, folks, you've been hearing from Tom Greenleigh, a local citizenship teacher. Tom, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Now, we did reach out to Citizenship and Immigration Services to be a part of this discussion. They respectfully declined when we asked them for a statement on why the department was making the changes to the test and why now. They referred us to a portion of a press release sent out last Friday that says, quote, USCIS revised the civics test as part of a decennial update to ensure that it remains an instrument that comprehensively assesses applicants' knowledge of American history, government, and civic values.